Welcome to SerialPodcastNine.
Are you ready to roll?
Are we ready?
No, I swallowed
Wrong.
weird like air or something, and then just couldn't stop coughing.
Are you okay now? Can we start?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Hit it.
I'm Gerard Gibraltar.
And I'm Kevin Peterson.
And I'm Ryan Benoit. And this is Serial Podcast 9, episode 53. All right, team. What do we got going on in our world?
Go team.
I'd like to give a shout out to Vasily, Team Defbonts, the guy with the Cayenne LS2 supercharged drift truck. He sent me some amplifiers. I don't know. I expressed that my stereo was kind of bunk and blit after buying all this like Chinese stuff. And I always talk to him on Instagram, and I always like, I don't know, we just always talk on Instagram, and like I help him here and there. And he just sent me some amps. He's like, it's a gift. I'm like, what? I didn't think they were going to be brand new, but they're brand new.
What?
So that's pretty sick. Yeah.
So if anyone wants to send us gifts, just go ahead and ship them on over.
Yeah. Do that.
I'm a size beer, fancy beer. That'd be the dream.
Yeah, I'm a 235 4018.
Well, that's a fun little shout out. I like that. Maybe he'll be our sponsor. That would be nice.
His car thing is getting a lot of attention. It's pretty sick.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, it's pretty like well put together.
Yeah, it's wild too. It's just like it's the most. It's like Bentley seats and like it's just crazy, man. It's cool.
That's great. I love it. Perfect. So, what do we want to talk about tonight? I got questions. You got anything you want to get off your chest?
Let's go with these questions.
Yeah, don't worry. We're going to get to a thing anyway. All right. Question. The first. Somebody by the name of Avec Moustache Sans Pulp wrote in. I don't know if we've ever gotten a question from him before, but, let's see where it goes.
Long time
Seems like a
first time questioner.
Yeah, long time questioner, first time listener, maybe. All right. So Matt ask the guys how much they'd pay to see Phil Collins live, buried witness to In the Air, with 30,000 other people, can legally be classified as a religious experience. No, I have not seen. No, hey, wait for the note. No, I have not seen Phil Collins live, but I've listened to In the Air tonight while high, so I'm regarded as an expert within the community. So the question Matt would like you to answer is, how much are you willing to pay to see Phil Collins live?
Phil Collins, all right. It's Genesis, Phil Collins. His music's pretty good.
He did the soundtrack to Disney's Tarzan.
What would I pay? I've never paid, and he's definitely in my years. He's definitely come around a bunch. Maybe like $50, $100. If somebody was like, "Hey, man, I'm going to Phil Collins. Do you want to come? I got tickets. You just got to give me the money. Like, I don't have to do anything. Like, I'm not like looking them up and like concert times and stuff. Like, I might pay like $50 to $100. I don't know how much I'd enjoy that concert because I don't know that many songs.
Well, I think just you'd do In the Air tonight and you'd be fine.
That's supposed to be a religious experience according to Matt, but
he doesn't know, but he's listened to it while high, so he's regarded as an expert
in the community.
Okay.
In the community. Kevin, how much would you pay? You are a music lover, a goer of concerts.
I feel like I'd pay the same as Gerard, It seems like a reasonable amount.
Yeah.
But yeah, also, truth be told, though, I wouldn't. Because I feel that happened recently. It wasn't Phil Collins, but it was a friend of ours who was like, hey, like, how much do you care about, like, Rod Stewart? And I was just like,
I thought this was the same question.
yeah, that's right. That's why I was just like, I had to go back and look it up, and I was like, is this the same question? Like, and then I was like,
was it Matt that
no,
asked
it was Devin. Devin was like, hey, like, how much do you care about Rod Stewart? And I was like very little. Why?
Yeah, like why?
I'm
would
like,
you
is
go
he coming here or something? And he was like, yeah, he's coming here. And I was just like, yeah, it's gonna be a no. And like, I don't know,
Man.
like same thing with Phil Collins.
My
It's
mom
one
used
of
to
those-
love Rod Stewart, so
It's
I
one of
know a
those
little
things
bit.
where
I'm
if
pretty
I
sure
was-
Phil Collins' ex-wife like lived in our cul-de-sac growing up. Like it was like the hot gossip about the community or whatever. Yeah,
that's some shit right
yeah.
Pretty sure Rod Stewart got in trouble because he used to kick soccer balls into the crowd, and he like railed someone in the face with a soccer ball once.
there. That seems like a really weird thing to do at concerts. I'm telling you right now.
Broke their nose or something. I don't know.
What?
That's
You would kick
hilarious.
it that hard?
Like a massive sea of people. You could just kick it out forever. You know.
All right. Well, I don't know if I would also pay any money to see Phil Collins in concert.
I wonder
Maybe
if this is
if
just
it was
Matt's
free.
way of asking us if we want to go see Phil Collins.
If Matt gets a ticket to Phil Collins and it's about $25, I would go. That's my limit.
That seems like you know what I mean, like a more reasonable amount. You know?
Yeah, 50
Okay,
is
and
like,
like, what's the most you would spend on a concert? Like ultimate bucket list show.
even I don't even know bucket list at this point. I feel like I've seen so many of the people that I've wanted to see. And I think the most I would pay is $125 for a concert ticket, which isn't a lot.
Is that
anymore
more than
because
the most you have ever paid?
I think that was around, and I actually didn't pay for that. My cousin got it for me as a wedding gift, which is amazing because my wife didn't. We went to go see Bruce Springsteen in Vancouver before I lived here.
Yeah.
And that was like my wedding gift. Me, him, and my best friend flew out to Vancouver to go see Bruce Springsteen play. And
What
then we
else?
saw Paul
Sorry, go on.
McCartney the night before. We thought Bruce Springsteen was going to come out to play with Paul McCartney. That was the only reason we went. So we spent, that would be like the Phil Collins. And that was about $40. And my friend bought the ticket because he was like, I know you won't want to pay for this, but I've heard rumors that Bruce might show up to play with Paul McCartney. And so we went hoping that Bruce Springsteen would show up, and he did not. But the people that paid money to see Paul McCartney did not like us because we were drunk and we were shouting Bruce the whole time.
Oh god.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
I was gonna say
What's the most you've ever paid, Gerard? Or what was the most you would pay?
most I would pay for a concert.
Yeah.
Oh shit, man.
Like,
I don't know.
people who pay thousands of dollars to see people in Vegas.
No, I mean, I feel like that would have to be like a music festival. I don't know, man. I haven't really been to that many concerts, and when I went to concerts, they were kind of like underground. I've never been to GM Place or any of those big places for a concert. I swear the biggest concert I've ever been to was U2. Oh no, was it U2? I swear I've been to U2. Later, I was like young, man. Like,
Yeah, was it the
16.
Joshua Tree album?
Might have been that one or the
17?
one right after.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, that
You
was
don't.
at the time, even back then, I mean, they were huge. I went with my cousin though. I don't remember like even paying. I think I just like accompanied him or something. He was like super into them. I was pretty into them. I don't know. I mean, I've seen Korn in concert. That like was kind of a big deal. That was like pretty cool. But that was when they weren't huge. They were like kind of getting huge, but they weren't like massive. And Deftones, that's about it. But Deftones I saw in like a super tiny place well before they were big. So I mean, I don't know. That's pretty much it, man. I've never seen like any rapper ever. I've never been to a rap concert.
We went and saw like 3-6 Mafia. And we saw like D'Antwoord and like.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, actually, that's
I mean,
true.
those are all in like clubs though, but like I mean, we've seen like lots of concerts.
Yeah, actually, yeah,
that
same
way.
thing too. We saw D'Antwoord before they were like really big. I mean, we saw
Stop
3-6
saying
Mafia.
you saw people before they were.
We
No,
saw
but
like
I'm just
3
saying-
times.
All I'm saying
Yeah.
is that
I get it. You're
it wasn't-
avant-garde.
No. I was just saying it wasn't like the concerts back then when we saw them. They weren't like these
It's not
grandiose.
like
Like,
we're going to. We're not going to see Lil Wayne at fucking like Rogers Arena. You know what I mean? It's not like a 30,000 like person like
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because,
concert
like-
tour. It's not Katy Perry, you know.
Yeah, that's fair. All right.
It's like it's almost like an obscure genre at the time. You know what I mean? Like it's like dirty South rap, and then it's like, you know what I mean? Like dubstep, like whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've seen all those big dubstep names also. Like, I mean, I guess they were maybe not big. I've never seen Skrillex or anything like that, but I mean, we saw Rusko and all those other guys.
Rusko,
All right.
Excision.
Yeah, we saw like a lot of those dudes.
Okay.
But yeah, it's the same thing. It wasn't
Diesel
like a
Boy.
30,000.
We saw
Yeah.
Diesel Boy.
Yeah. It wasn't a
I've seen
30,000.
like Calvin Harris.
Oh yeah, that sounds like a big one.
Damian Marley.
Oh, you've seen Damian Marley? That's like kind of sick.
That was at the Olympics.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, there's all those concerts at the Olympics too. You know what I mean? Like,
Did I see?
I don't know.
All right. Well, let's okay. So far we've talked about music, live music in underground clubs, but not cars. And we're a few minutes in. So maybe we should switch gears.
Everyone
back
listens to music, bro.
Everyone listens to music.
We talk about cars all the time.
And everyone eats food.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
God. Everybody eats.
Yeah, you know,
Kevin and I can talk about the struggle of trying to find a place for both of us to eat on our road trip. So we only ate.
It wasn't even really a struggle to me. But like,
I just felt like I disappointed Kevin every time we ate. Is what I was at. So that's actually it. Like every time we went to go eat, I felt like I had to apologize.
Yeah, you should.
Not to you, Gerard. You pipe down.
I think I you know what I mean. I'm just always disappointed when I have to eat.
Why?
I don't know. It's like I don't know. It's just
But there's foods that you really like.
Yeah,
So
I just like it's just like a struggle to figure it out and find it and go get it and order it, and you know what I mean. Like
with you or with
Yeah.
Brian?
No, just I don't know. I guess with me, or just life, you know.
Well, we were like trying to avoid traffic, so we were like, "Where's a place we can sit down that's relatively okay?" But we couldn't get into Seattle. So
Yeah, and then like Ryan's internet was all slow when he was trying to like look at it, so it was taking a long time to like actually get anything done.
So basically, Android spec. But
Well, so Kevin and I went to a really nice date spot in Olympia.
oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
How was it?
It was good.
Coco, I think it was called. It was a
It was
Mexican
pretty
place.
decent.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was us and then a bunch of couples.
You're telling me that it was a Mexican place. Did they have tacos served in tins?
No,
Folded
No,
up like in tins.
no,
no,
they
it
didn't.
wasn't
It
Cactus
it
Club.
was very authentic.
All right,
Like,
all right.
It was like trying to be high scale, you know.
Yeah, that was we only
Like-
ate twice on that trip, like in a rest, like proper meals.
Yeah, I said that to someone after we got back, and they're like, "What?" I was just like, "Yeah," because we didn't really eat at the track.
There was no running water. Like, and I know that doesn't affect if you can eat or not, but like
Yeah,
there was
Sure
only
does.
there was only X amount of time to be at the track, right? Like we got there at 9:30, set
Yeah.
up, and then you had till 4 by the time you did the drivers meeting and I did the media meeting. Like,
yeah. I don't think we started driving till 11.
yeah, so it was like there wasn't like Kevin even said one point through the day, he's like, I'm in the old mindset of like 2-day drift events, and I can't be like sitting around. I got to go out and drive.
Yeah, I got to get
There
like
wasn't
every
really
second in, which felt
Yeah.
weird.
And we didn't know a ton of people. Kevin was definitely a fast rising star at that drift event is what Kevin was. So that was nice to see. He was a fresh face, and then he went out and made big impressions, and it was really great to see. Yeah, that was fun.
Know too many people. There were some people I knew, but like I didn't actually see them. It seemed like the pits are like pretty spread out, and like also when you're just trying to drive as much as you can, you're like not hanging around watching other people drive. Like I feel like I didn't see anybody else drive unless it was like in front of me on the track.
Yeah. Or on your camera facing backwards later. Yeah, anyway, that was a good event. A lot of fun. It was a great exercise in watching Kevin do what Kevin does, which is load a drift car, drive it to an event, and then deal with all of the shit that comes in play with
Yeah,
it.
that's a lot. That's a lot of shit, honestly. It's heavy. I remember the one time I went to the island We were out. I don't know what the hell we were doing. We were out partying or something in the middle of the
We're probably at some concert.
day. No, we were out like
Underground
downtown.
concert.
No, we were like downtown, and I was in the wagon. And then you're like, oh yeah, like yeah, I'm gonna go to this drift event, man. And it was on the island, and I was like, okay, like, you're like, yeah, see you later, man. And I was like, shit, I guess I'm going too. And I had to like rip home, and you were like already going whether I went or not. And I said I had to go home, like unload the wagon, like take the fucking wheels off because I think I had the 10.5s on the wagon and shit. And I had to like throw everything in the yellow car and get everything ready and do all this stuff. And I was like rushing, and I fucking never do that. I never like rush or hustle or whatever. And I'd like rip to the fucking ferry, and I like barely made it and stuff. And I was just like, man, this is so not like what I do. But I swear that was like the like Canada Day drift event. That was like awesome. Like probably the only time I ever drifted at Cap D, honestly.
Yeah, it's like the time you had the most fun ever.
Yeah, but like I was like, man, fuck this. Like I don't want to do this, man. Like I'm like blasting home from downtown. And like, you know what I mean? I live in Surrey. Kevin lives in Richmond and has to go to like Tawasin. That's like fucking 10 minutes from your house.
Yeah,
I guess it's not
10 minutes, but like, yeah.
Well, it's like closer to your house than my house.
Yeah, no, it is.
And also your house was closer to downtown than my house was.
Yes.
So downtown Surrey, Tawasin, and then
I do remember like everyone sitting there, and like I was just like, yeah, I don't know. Like Gerard said he was coming. Like last I talked to him, he was like loading the car and making his way out here. And
I don't think I'd ever driven to the ferry before either. I was just like Googling and shit on my like iPhone 4, probably. I don't know. Kind of don't know the way. Made it.
Kevin had another blowout on the I-5.
Yeah, I saw that. It was a lot.
And I didn't know what was happening because it wasn't like terrifying. It was just like, and then I'm hard of hearing now, so it's hard to hear.
Yeah, is that permanent or what the fuck?
I don't know. It's just like tricky sometimes. And so I'm like, what happened? He's like, oh, we had a blowout. But then it was like, I felt awful. I was like, I'm not going to be any help to Kevin in this situation. And Kevin's going to do what Kevin does. But he changed his, and luckily he had all the stuff with him that he needed to do. And he did it very quickly. But like changing your wheel and tire, your whole setup on the side of the I-5, when it's like the side that is facing like that is closest to the traffic, was pretty, I thought, terrifying, but maybe I'm just very like, there was points where I eventually was just like, I'll just let Kevin know whenever a semi is coming. Like that'll be my job. But you could like see Kevin look at his wheel and always be checking traffic. I'm like, this is fucking crazy. I don't know.
I feel that's how it is. It's like you're trying to look at the traffic more so to see if someone's gonna sideswipe you. You
really got to be careful in those situations.
There was like one old like ratty shitty van that like tried to buzz me. I swear it was like
tried to.
I felt like he was like way closer than anybody else for like no reason. I felt so like stupid. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like some of the semis would change lanes, but then like Ryan eventually figured out that every time a semi would come, I'd like run back, like and hide with him, and then like. Because like Ryan was still in the car, and I was like, "Dude, like get out of the car!" Like, if, like the car gets hit, you're dead. Like if you're 10 feet behind the car and the car gets hit, we go home. You know, the car doesn't, but we go home. You know, like
it was not like a crazy drive back, but we got pulled over by the cop.
Yeah,
in an awful spot, like. The part where you drive under the downtown of Seattle.
The cops don't care, man. They pull you over in this weirdest, like sketchiest spots, man.
Yeah. And then we were like, how do we drive out of here with this guy behind us? Because the only it's hard to check your blind spot because Kevin can speak to this, obviously, that you got all the stuff in the back. And then in order to really safely get out of that location, like, Kevin had to like fucking romp.
Well, I mean, honestly, if I was like a regular car, I could have just driven straight forward. But there was like basically looked like a broken cinder block. So it was like these three really big pieces of concrete there, and I was like, I can't drive over that.
Yeah. So then we waited till
I kind of was just sitting there trying to like figure out what to do because I can't see around the cop either. And I was like, oh, like he might pull out with his siren on and like block the traffic, and then I'll just go forward slowly and not be able to go. And I'm just waiting and waiting and waiting, and all of a sudden he just like takes off like a rocket. Like we're just like 3 lanes over the exit lane, like back into traffic and onto the highway, and just takes off. And I'm just like, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna do the same thing. So
That's
I just
crazy.
backed up a bit and then just waited for a break and just like took
Launched
off.
it.
Yeah, basically launched it like
This is
I
a
would
good
on every like on ramp.
Yeah. This is a good spot to do a little bit of product placement, because part of the reason we got pulled over was for the titanium.
Oh, sparking
Titanium.
bolts.
Our titanium scraper hardware. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to Kevin for knowing how to talk to a cop. That cop was definitely like, Kevin didn't care how awkward the silence was. He said what he needed to say and then just waited for the cop to start the conversation again. So Good job, Kevin.
I think I waited.
I
honestly, I think at one point I was just like, that's basically all I have to say. And
Yeah,
then he started
I don't
talking.
know. Yeah, like, I don't know. Sorry. And I was trying to figure out Instagram. I was so uninterested with this Stadia or whatever it was that pulled us over. Anyway,
This is
all in all,
wild.
It all worked
great
out.
time.
You know? Yeah.
We're all here. We're alive. What's
Exactly.
wild, Gerard?
I'm looking at Cresta headlights, and I can find beautiful, beautiful right sides, like just tons brand new looking right sides. The lefts. Like, what's up with that? Like,
What up with that?
there's no pairs that are like beautiful. They're all like left headlight just looks like bunk. Like, what the fuck?
All right, I'm going to need you to pay attention for the next one, because this one's
I
going
am.
to be on.
Okay, next
I don't know.
question.
All right, here we go. This one's for you. Well, Kevin can answer too. It's just not a me question, because it's actually coming from me. I've talked to and then seen another person on social media, and this is one of the few questions, just to put it out there for everyone, that I asked Gerard beforehand, but I feel like he's probably already forgot. So he's going to come at it fresh. So Gerard,
Yes.
I've seen people manual swap their JZs and have said no to the CD 009.
Yeah.
and are thinking of doing the T56. So the criticism wasn't, and I even said, I go out there and I pretend like I'm an anonymous person and I recommend SerialNine, and they're like, yeah, no, the SerialNine shifter sounds great. Just worried about how much power the CD 009 can hold. I want something else. And so then someone chimed up, they're like, just get a T56. And then I chatted to one of our other pals. He said, yeah, like I would do that, but I think I'm going to go to the T56. So what is the benefit?
Benefit of a T56 over...
Run me through it. Is there a sales pitch to be had for the T56?
Okay,
what's a sales pitch?
I would say that all those people who are like, the CD's going to break. They don't even have enough power to break the CD.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so I'm just pulling up right now. Okay, so the T56 Magnum, it's not a stock transmission, by the way. It's like an aftermarket tranny from Tremec. Like, you can't buy it in a car or something. So essentially, you have to buy it brand new. It's rated up to 700 foot-pounds of torque, and it retails for $32.95. Okay, so it's like a decent amount of money. And then you got to put an adapter kit on top of that, whatever. And I don't know of any great adapter kits from JZ to T56. I mean, granted, I haven't researched it a whole bunch. I've driven T56s. They're not bad. I mean, even the T5, I had the T5 in my Cortina. T56 is sort of a newer, nicer version of that. Shifts sort of the same thing. I mean, they're great trannies. They shift nice. I don't know about the shifter placement in all these cars. So that's another thing. There are literally probably 30 different combinations of shifter positions and stuff on a T56. But keep in mind, when you buy one, it's probably just going to come with the regular one, and you're going to have to do something to make that shifter fit in the car. So $32.95, an adapter kit. Let's say a cheap adapter kit's probably I don't know, $1,000. So now $42.95. Some sort of clutch. I don't know what kind of clutch you're going to use. Some butchered thing. It's either going to be, maybe your adapter kit came with an aluminum flywheel. You use like a, T56 clutch. I feel like your clutch choices are going to be more geared sort of towards American cars, which is kind of fine. So you got your comp, your ACT, your spec.
If I will interject quickly, it feels like all of those, or all the T56 pioneering world was drag racing.
Yeah.
Like two JZs, big power 2 JZs, and then they would put T56s behind it, and it's kind of filtered down into like drifting and like regular people down. But
see, I don't understand why they would put a 250 T56 behind. Maybe they just at that point couldn't get V160s.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, let's also just back it up a bit here. Everyone thinks the V160 this be all end all transmission and like it's like so amazing and this and that. It's not. Like, yeah, you could, it's the same as, it's not the same as any other tranny, but like, you'd see those supers ripping off like whatever 8-second quarter miles with the V160, and people would think, oh my God, it's like amazing because it like can take all this power and all this. And like, I mean, out of all those V160s, there was probably like 30 in the entire world that like did that. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like a common thing that people were pushing 1,300 horsepower through a V160. And I know people that have broken V160s. And I mean, I had a V160 and I liked it in the Cressida. It's still pretty cool.
Like, I know
it's cool as a flex. It's cool as a flex.
Yeah. But it's also like just kind of a cool transmission. I was like fully sealed and like, I don't know. I just thought it was cool.
Because it's a Getra, because it's, it's not a Japanese tranny. But yeah, I mean, I think it's, for me anyways, it was a bit more of like a flex. Like in the Cressida, like that would Getrag in the Cressida, it was like definitely like the jam, you know what I mean? But then when I put it in the Aristo, I was like kind of fuck this thing. It's the shifting sucks. I tried to make it like shorter and all that, and it just wasn't great. So it's an old tranny, doesn't shift well. Like, I mean, like in, like it does obviously in certain situations. Anyways, whatever. So I guess they became too expensive. So people started experimenting with like T56s and CDs and all that stuff. And I think that's where you
isn't there like how old is the T56? Is that not out?
Sorry?
I said, how old is the T56?
Oh yeah. Ancient T56 came out in like 2001 Camaros and stuff.
Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. I don't know how well they shift at like 8,000 RPM. Whereas like the CD is designed, especially if you get like an HR, it's designed to shift at 7,500 or whatever, right? I don't know why anyone would put a T56 behind a JZ personally. Like it just, in my opinion, doesn't make sense. I guess a lot of people think the CD doesn't have the capacity or the torque capacity in that because, I guess originally the CD was designed for a VQ, which makes maybe 300 foot-pounds of torque, maybe. But I mean, my car had 550 horsepower or torque, and it was a very heavy car, 3,800 pounds with a big tire. We have one of our shifter customers has a 11 or 1,200 horsepower S14, and he does like half mile racing with the CD with our shifter. And I don't
like S14 or sorry. What about that 100 in Australia?
Yeah, I mean, there's also, Matt Atkinson's car in Australia. It's a JZX 100. Makes what, 700 something horsepower?
Yeah, I think so.
I feel like part of it is obviously the torque and horsepower. Part of it is the usage of said torque and horsepower in which way you sort of like, drag racing is one thing, roll racing is another thing, drifting's a huge, other thing. And then whatever, circuit racing. Drifting obviously being the hardest on anything, right? Like I definitely know people that have blown up V160s drifting. That's,
I've never drag raced. I always assumed drag racing is like the hardest. But I know like drag racing is like over so quickly, But.
Well, it's not really that. It's like, okay, in a whatever proper drag car, you have slicks. The slicks, part of the sort of job with the slicks is to transfer the power to the ground, right? And to transfer the power to the ground efficiently, it can't really shock load. Like it's designed to
sort of kind of like
flex.
like
Yeah. So that's one thing. Like classic example is a drag Honda. You know what I mean? Drag Honda, let's say 500 horsepower. Put it on slicks, the axles last. Put it on a street tire, they break right away because like there's no flex in the sidewall. It usually gets axle hop or something, and they'll just snap the axles like nothing. But you put slicks on that thing, and the axles can live because there's like an absorption through the slick. But drifting, you have grippy tires, tons of clutch kicks. You're literally trying to break the transmission like repeatedly, like every clutch kick. I mean, depending on what clutch you use, and most people use unsprung clutches, and and then you got solid tranny mount, solid engine mount, solid diff mount, like everything's solid, and you got you're literally just like just trying to break the thing repeatedly, right? So, in my opinion, drifting would be the hardest. But yeah, I mean, I would say, I mean, we used to say, 650 horsepower torque, that's kind of the limit in drifting for a CD. But I mean, that's a lot, man. Like 650 foot-pounds of torque drifting, that's like a pretty ridiculous car.
Yeah, like
so I don't know.
I'm trying to think of like the people locally who actually drift who has 650 horsepower.
Yeah, so yeah, you take the percentage
like a handful.
Yeah, this percentage of people with drift cars that have 650 foot-pounds of torque or 650 horsepower, even 550 torque, like that's probably less than half. Maybe it's probably right on the cusp. There's like the 350 450 wheel people, and then the like 550 650 wheel people, you know what I mean? So I feel like the CD is like right in that range. So it's like a perfect transmission. And even if you are in the higher range, if you break it, they're not expensive. It's like $1,300 maybe. I don't know what they are these days, but like,
yeah.
Like, okay, so maybe it lasts you one season, maybe it lasts you 2 seasons, maybe it lasts you half a season, but it's not $3,000 US. Right. You know what I mean? And I get it. Like if you're competing and all that stuff, you don't want your tranny to break, but like nobody is competing with a CD. Like if you're 650 horsepower, 650 torque, you're getting up to that level where you're like probably semi-pro or pro or whatever, and you should probably be looking at a different transmission. So it's like, it has its place.
What transmission should you be looking at? A W58?
Yeah, I feel like if you're at that level, you either just have a bunch of spare CDs all ready to go, because it literally takes like 45 minutes to swap it in.
And that's in like our cars. Like if you had a track car, like if you had a track car, it could be 10 minutes.
Yeah, it could be 10 minutes to swap the tranny for sure. Like if you didn't have to take the shifter off and stuff, and like if you had dry brakes, if you had dry brake fittings on the slave cylinder,
the tunnel was large enough.
Oh yeah, it'd be nothing. Maybe 15. I mean, you should be looking at sequential. I mean, people used to use a ton of dog boxes. I think dog boxes were kind of that like middle ground of like, I can't afford a sequential. But then even back then, sequentials weren't like the thing to have.
I mean, I think the dog box is still a pretty big thing as well. Because like when you're running those courses, like you don't need more than the 4 gears, and like you can change the rear end so quickly,
Yeah.
But yeah,
I don't know anyone currently with a dog box, but then I don't really know that many people in that level of racing. So everyone I know that's in that level of racing now has a sequential.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a sequential basically starts at like 10K, I would say. I mean, for like a known one, not like a, Zhangguei sequential transmission or whatever.
All right.
That's a legit name. That's like
fine.
No, I saw a video where like Osbo, his Mark V Supra has like a 4-speed. So I assume that was a dog box, but I mean, it definitely could be a 4-speed.
But in his Formula D car or like one of his practice cars?
It's like a fully built separate car. I don't think it's a Formula D car. I think it's probably
something
like a Europe car or something. But
yeah, they're probably like
it's still like a It's the BMW motor with like a 80 mil turbo and nitrous fuel and like dual radiator. It's a full
yeah,
car.
I mean, that's the thing is those trannies can take a lot of abuse, and the parts are fairly readily available.
I think that's just it too. It's like, you know what I mean? Imagine if you had all that stuff laying around, like why wouldn't you use it?
Yeah, exactly. So
okay, sorry. Yeah, go on, and then I'll say my bit.
No, that's it. I mean, like, in my opinion, the T56 advantage would be you really like American things.
Yeah.
I have no idea how they think.
I will say
they might be smaller too. I don't know.
I will say one thing. Never been a problem for me. Do you notice it? Seems to be a problem for other people. The CD009 is a loud transmission.
Yeah.
It's not super quiet in its operation.
But when's the last time you drove a T56?
That's the thing. I have no real experience with T56.
Also,
so the last
how
time
many
you drove a V160?
Not in a long time.
Hang on though. How many 650 horsepower like built cars are just quiet? I'm trying to be devil's advocate here. That's what all those people on the internet are saying. They're like, it's too loud for me, bro. It's just like,
I mean, I get it all the time. It's
right,
like, I just can't handle the rattle. I just can't handle the noise, the CD noise. I just can't handle it. I don't want that. It's like, okay.
So then what do they do? What's the alternative for them if they're saying they can't handle that? And
maybe those are the people that want 256s.
Those are the 256
or do they do like
guys.
the R1? Are R154 guys still a thing?
See, that's the thing. Let me just look this up right now. I'm assuming a Camaro also has a dual mass transmission, especially like an American car, T56 stock. I guarantee you that flywheel out of the stock car is probably like 800 pounds. Like, let me just.
There's no way that thing's like
stock LS1 flywheel weight.
So hang on, while you look that up, then
what do you think it's going to be like 28?
You kidding me? 28
for the flywheel?
Yeah, the flywheel, buddy. Jesus Christ.
Did you find it?
Yeah, I mean, I found. Okay, so the flywheel itself is 25 pounds, but that's not with the clutch and everything on. So I want to see if it's probably dampened. Yeah, it says 42 pounds for the complete assembly, which it actually isn't so
it's not terrible. Yeah,
all right.
Anyways, the reason I'm looking that up is
you're assuming that transmission is also not quiet.
Exactly, and the whole thing it's a misconception that like, oh, I'm going to get this 700 horsepower thing and it's going to have a performance clutch and it's going to be quiet and this and that. It's like all of those transmissions are big and the gears are big and they're loud. And the way that they get away with that from the factory is they put this giant dual mass dampened flywheel on it. So it's like the same thing. The Supra flywheel out of the V160, dual mass dampened. R154 is not. But the CD009 flywheel dual mass dampened, same thing. So the J160 is dual mass as well. Oh yeah,
and that's the same transmission that's in the S15.
Yeah, exactly. The second you remove that dampened flywheel and the dual mass flywheel, the transmission, all the noises that they're trying to get rid of with they come out. So like
it's almost like a full blessing though. It's like, here's this super sick racy transmission. And like we added this one thing that like rounds off all the corners and makes it pedestrian. And we know you're going to take that out and put even more racy one in. And if you do, it livens it up and everything's sick. And it's like all these dudes are like, make some noise.
Yeah, and it actually doesn't even really make noise. Like I don't know, like I don't know what your tolerance for noise is, but like it certainly isn't like a 650 horse street car tolerance. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
right. Like, I don't assume you to like start.
I mean, I don't know though. You could have 650 Audi or 650 horsepower
Mercedes
BMW,
AMG,
and they're
for
completely normal cars. So if you come from that world,
not really, man. Like when's the last time you heard a BMW start up and it sounded normal? It's like,
I swear that's like I swear that guy turns that on. You could start that thing.
But
up
even in
all day
quiet
long if
mode,
you
they're
wanted
not
it to.
they're not like that quiet. Like in loud mode, they're super loud, and in quiet mode, they're like kind of quiet. And not to mention they rattle. They're kind of like, like you've heard an M3. It just sounds like kind of like garbage here and there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would say maybe like a Mercedes, like probably an AMG. You start it up, it's probably fine. And then it has, whatever, 650 horse.
Really pushing for that AMG sponsorship. Fuck BMW sponsorship.
But I mean, also it's a $200,000 car. Your Supra or your 650 horse JZX 100 is not a $250,000 car or $200,000 car. There's
Agreed.
like hundreds of thousands of engineering hours to build that car and give you the experience. Part of the experience is like, and I mean, none of those cars are manual anyways. You know what I mean? So like, it's like a totally irrelevant,
Yeah.
Like you might be able to buy a manual BMW.
So, hang on though, to go back to this, if someone's like the CD009 is not for me, the T56 is too expensive, then what are they doing? Are they doing R154s? Is that like
No.
So then what's the other option for them? Like what else is out there?
Stay auto.
Stay auto. Sick.
I mean, their options are to buy a used transmission and a really cheap adapter and some $150 eBay clutch and, some aluminum flywheel or a button clutch. I don't know, like some sort of bojangled setup that saves them, $1,500 to $2,000. And they use that for maybe 6 months to a year and realize how shitty it is. And then just buy the whole proper setup after and basically spend double the money.
Right.
That's exactly what happens every single time.
So now that we've gone through this, I will say I was reading it on a Facebook group. I believe the person was in my home province, which I thought was very interesting. I don't know, which is Saskatchewan. So there isn't a ton of drifting in Saskatchewan, and you'd be traveling. So I don't think the person was trying to build a drift car. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know if they were trying to build a drag car, but I think it was a wagon. So probably not trying to build a drag car. I think what you were probably looking at was someone had
Aristo.
Well, it was a Toyota. Yeah, it must have been. They said it was a wagon, so it was either a Crown or a Blit, I assume.
Probably a Crown.
Maybe they really like you and they just don't want to write you a love letter. Anyway, but it was actually kind of that classic, like, eyes are bigger than your stomach. Like, so I'm hypothetically going to build a 650 horsepower 2J. And it's like, are you going to build a 650 horsepower 2J? And then like, what are you going to use that for? Like what, like, and I kind of thought it was funny because here I am talking to that person. And for those that don't know, I have a W58 and Kevin just posted from Shared Spectrum's story. I'm going to a single turbo and like, I'm just going to keep using the W58 till I can't use the W58. And then I would use a CD009 with a SerialNine shifter. That's the logistical thing. But like in my mind, at least, because when we talked about that originally, it's like, should I be worried? And it was, Ryan, you don't drive hard enough to have to worry about it. So I kind of thought like someone is building this car in their mind to be like level 10, level 10, level 10, but they're probably like
a level 2.
Yeah, or like 3 or 4 or something. It's like, man, you're getting so far ahead of yourself. Like, I'm worried about how much power the CD009 can hold. But then I'm actually thinking of all the people that we've talked to and the people that we know that use it. And I was like, sure, my sample set is pretty small, but I've seen people use them in person with varying amounts of horsepower and have a very high success rate for what they do. So I just thought it was like a very probable thing was someone was like building a car in their head more than like practicality, which you guys have brought that up before.
Yeah, I think everybody's guilty of that, you know.
I mean, we're in the market of selling these adapter kits, and then we get people all the time. It's like, we sort of say, oh, how much power does your car make now? Or like, what's your short-sighted goal? Like you're like realistic, like this year, when you put this transmission in goal, they're like, oh, 800 horse. And it's like, they're getting this crazy, ridiculous triple plate clutch, this blah, blah, blah. And it's like, they actually don't even have 300 horse. You know what I mean? And it's like,
Yeah.
just buy something that suits your needs now, and then you can upgrade it later. But like, usually when we're having the conversations with those people, those are the type of people that probably aren't going to build an 800 horse car, because they would already have an 800 horse car if they were building an 800 horse car.
You can also kind of like feel when someone's listening and actually, Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of people you're like, yo, this, and you're just like, oh yeah, okay, but what I said again. And you're like,
exactly.
Hey, but, and they're like, yeah, but this. And they're just like, yeah, man, I guess, sure. Like,
yeah.
Well, at that point, what do you do?
It kind of goes back to I say this a lot, but I'll say it again. It's the idea that everyone believes they're the exception to the rule. Like they're not the statistic, right? Like, most people say that they're going to build a 650 horsepower car, and then they get half of the way and they get to like 450 and they're like, holy shit, I still got to spend all this money and I'm not there yet. And like, oh my God, I bet I should just sell this project. That's a lot of the times how it goes. But everybody feels like they're the exception to that. They love cars so much, they're going to do it.
So one thing we wanted to talk about is
the Viper.
Oh shit! Speaking of Vipers, Kevin, man, when we went to Mopac, Dominic and I, we saw the sickest Viper. I wish I could have taken a picture of it for you. You might have seen it before. It's red with the white or silver stripes, and it's pretty low and like really fitted wheels. Have you seen that car before?
No.
Oh, dude, it was sick, man. I was just like, we were going a different way, and then he like changed out into the lane, and like I was like, fuck this, I'm gonna follow this guy. Like, it's so sick. Like Dominic was like, no, that Viper is so sick, it's so dope. And it was, man. It had looked like forged 3-piece, like fitted wheels, and like was low.
Yeah,
it was sick. Really cool, man. I was like, Kevin would love this. Anyway, so one thing we want to talk about, Ryan, is the gearing. So
I kind of just realized something too. Like the Viper OEM wheels are a 3-spoke wheel.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Well, I get the really ugly ones were like,
they're super ugly.
Ugly.
It's like, 3 spokes.
Yeah. Is the gearing okay? So one of the things with the is obviously which transmission you choose has to go with the final drive of your car, right? So the CD came in a 350Z, let's call it, right? And the final drive for basically all those cars is at 3.5 to 1, right? Which is, it's in the 3s. It's pretty normal Japanese-ish, whatever. So like American cars and like German cars have this really weird gearing strategy where the final drive is super, super tall. So like, for example, the T56, maybe not the Magnum, but the T56 transmission came in a Camaro or whatever, right? The final drive for a Camaro is 273, maybe all the way up to a 342, right? So 342 would be like an SS, and 342 would be like a really low final drive for those cars. So imagine the gearing would be quite short, right? So, or quite, it's quite short because it has a very tall final drive, right? So you take that T56 and you put a 3.7 on the back of it. And I don't even know what the gearing would be like. It'd be really weird. Basically the same as the BMWs, because I don't know if you remember, Chris Keel had a BMW tranny in his JZX100, and first was absolutely useless. So like you have 2, 3, 4, 5, and they're all super high RPM because like the gearing that's supposed to be in the back is like a 2 something or a very low 3. And one of the things, so the Supra, the V160, this final drive in a V160 car is a 3.26, which is pretty tall, pretty far away from a 3.7.
Is that where 326 Power got their name from?
So anyways, one of the things was when I had the CD and the Aristo, I was like, man, like this 3.7, or I had 3.9s in it originally. And I was like, holy crap, this is way too low. Like gears were just so short. And then I had the 3.7 in and I was like, okay, like this is pretty good. I'm going to try the 3.26. I'm going to make it exactly like how a Supra should be. This is what it should be. And then it was just like your you're building a performance car. And like, I don't know if you've driven like a Type R or any car that has like really short gears and like kind of like it's just quick. Everything's super quick. And then you add a turbo and everything's just like really just quick and spools fast. It never comes off boost. It's super dope. So I put the 326 on and all that was gone. So the gearing was really tall. And it was just like you'd shift and you have to like wait for the turbo. And I mean, I feel like that's like maybe a drag racing thing or people that like, you know, highway racing or you just stick it in one gear and do a lot of clutch kicks to get the turbo to spool and then you just leave it in one gear. I guess that's the style. But the CD with the 3.7 is a very good match. So I would assume a much better match than a T56 with a 3.7. So that's another reason why, in my opinion, the CD would be a better match to a Japanese, you know, car, a Toyota or whatever.
So is it fair to say that maybe the person that was looking at the T56 that I was talking about or the person suggesting it was just looking to go as fast as possible in a straight line? Is that what they like?
No, because the gearing would be too short.
Oh, so it's just kind of
quick.
It'd be very quick.
I mean, if you put the 326 rear end in it, which would be a little bit more difficult into a Crown or a JZX, because it bolts into your car, like it bolts into the Aristo. The Aristo, you know, theoretically could come with that diff, but you can't just bolt that 326 rear end into like a Crown or a JZX. So in order to get the quote unquote correct gearing for the 256, you would have to do some work.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So if you put the T56 in with the stock Crown rear end, which is a 3.7, the gearing would be very, very short, like extremely short.
All right. Well,
yeah.
If anyone out there wants to send me a 326 rear, just like Gerard got.
You don't want a 326 with your W58 though. See, that's the thing.
What do I want?
With the W58, you probably want a 3.9.
Oh, okay. Well, if anyone wants to send me a 3.9, just like Gerard got fucking amps.
I think we have a 3.9 at the shop from that SC300 or whatever.
Oh, okay. Well, if anyone on this,
you might want an LSD as well once you get that turbo in.
Yeah, that's part of the plan. I'll look into it. Anyway, hey, that was really educational. But now I got a not like a funny question.
Okay.
Y'all ready? So our friend 2J Zinagani wrote, how do you guys handle hate online? Being pretty big in the car world, there's always going to be hecklers and people who give negative attention to the company. How do you and the boys deal with that? So how do you deal with negative attention and the hecklers, the haters that are going to hate? How do you deal with that?
A really good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. I feel like we had an episode where we talked about how we have had people in the past who it almost seems like have like a vendetta against you. Like they think you wronged their friend 10 years ago or whatever it was. Or there's nothing you're ever going to be able to do, I feel, to win some of these people back over.
I commented on a Checkpoint thing today because I watched Checkpoint's latest video, and if anyone's not aware, they should go watch Checkpoint videos. They're great. But Alex at the end of the video said, we read all the positive comments, and I was like, yo, like we read all the encouraging comments, and I was like, yo, what do you do with the discouraging comments? And like pass that along to me. Because like I want to know, like, what do you do? Like, I am notoriously bad for this, and as you can probably tell from the podcast, that I will always try to have a conversation with someone, no matter how dumb they are. If they're like, "Yo, fuck you," and then if it gets really bad, because one of my friends at work trolled me for a few years and tried to like comment on Dota Logic stuff as a fake account, but he didn't know anything about drifting, but he called himself like DK something or other. And then but it was always funny because like I don't want to shit talk people on Dota Logic stuff. Other people would come in and be like, yo, what the fuck's wrong with you? which I always thought was really
back
nice.
you up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always nice when you have someone else that can like do the thing for you. But aside from that, I will always try to talk through the disagreement, even though like it's most of the time it doesn't go anywhere. Like the other week, some guy was like freaking out at me in a parking lot because I was waiting for a parking spot to go to a music festival. And he was like, yo, everybody's like waiting behind you. And he had pulled up next to me in oncoming traffic. I'm like, or, you know, kind of. And I was like, you can go around. He's like, everybody's waiting and they can't get around. I'm like, yo, now you're blocking traffic
right now. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, you're going around, and by you stopping to me, you're blocking traffic. So do you want to talk about it? Like, we can have a conversation about it. And he looked so confused. He's like, well, fuck your, and I'm like, well, let's have a conversation while you block traffic. And then he's like, oh, fuck you. And he like drove away all frustrated.
You defeated him with logic. Exactly.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, like you're doing the thing that you needed to do. You're trying to like say this thing to get your piece off, but like I'll fully have the fucking dumb conversation with you. And sometimes that is to my detriment, you know, like we have said things on this podcast that have, and it's mostly been my fault, that have made other people not happy. And I think sometimes they like to think like it's a Gerard or a Kevin thing. And then I've gone and been like, no, that was fully me. And I will fully have this conversation with you. But like a lot of the times people, they aren't interested in that. Right. Like I think in some of those situations, they're not interested in talking to like the media dude that they've never heard of. They want to beef with the big dog, and it's not. So,
and that's just it. They want to beef. You know what I mean? It's like, you could be like, yo, roses are red. And they'd be like, no, man.
You'd be like, yo, like a CD is way better than a T56 for your application. They'd be like, nah, dude, T56 the best, man. You'd be like,
yeah, okay, man,
just go get it then, you know?
Yeah.
So what is the general way? How do you guys do it? How do you deal with the haters?
Well, I think like being a celebrity, like I am, like I've had haters forever, so I'm used to it by now. You know, it's not just like a new thing. You know,
we also practice every single day. Like I hate Kevin, and he hates me.
Yeah, so we're good with dealing with that.
Yeah, so it's kind of like we fight. You know, sometimes we'll like get into a screaming match. It's mostly me screaming, and then he'll just be like, kind of like, "What do you mean, man?" And then, you know, or he'll just be like, yeah, okay, Gerard, like, and just kind of act like a huge jerk. So yeah, we practice the hate like compensation a lot within our company.
You gotta let it flow through you.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like most people aren't going to be as clever as my friends and say as hurtful things as the people that I hold dear in my life. So like, what are you going to say to me? You know,
the people closest to you can burn you the hardest. You know?
Yeah, exactly. You'll never say anything as hurtful to me as my daughter will.
Truth be told, though, I will say, like, surprisingly enough, and kind of like gladly, I don't think we have a lot of hate. I don't really experience a ton of hate. Like, I'm trying to think of a situation where I had to like diffuse a dude or something who was just like, yo, like, kind of fuck you guys, like your shit's too expensive, or your arms suck, or something like that.
Because I don't like, honestly, it feels like, no offense, like you can't hate on those things. It's like the parts are good. The customer service is good. Really, like everything is good. Like, you know what I mean? Like the only thing you can hate on is like sometimes it takes us a while to get the parts out.
Absolutely.
That's the only thing, and I'll agree to that every day.
Yeah, you can hate on that all you want, because like sometimes it's out of our control, and before it was in our control and we sucked at it, and we really, really worked super hard to like get it back within our control, and now it's out of our control again. So it's like, you know, like
but also we also have so many other parts that we do have in stock all the time, and we're coming out with new things all the time, and like
and also we really like a key element of SerialNine is to make the dopest stuff. So it's like, I can agree if you're hating on some sort of like lackluster, mediocre arm that like, might be too expensive or might be like poor quality, or maybe the adjustment range is terrible, or maybe it hits on, the body when your car's too low, or, this and that. But literally, like, we've already thought of all that stuff. Like, that's why we design the arms and the parts that we do the way we do, is because we're like, oh, somebody's going to be like, you can't have your car low with this arm because it hits. And, we've already tried that. Or like, we want to adjust the most negative camber. And we're like, well, we've already done that. And that's why the SerialNine stuff's good. And if you don't like it, you're welcome to buy anything else. The only thing you can buy above SerialNine is Tiedemann. So by all means, go and spend $1,300, $1,400, $1,500 on some arms that might be slightly better than SerialNine in certain ways. But other than that,
it definitely feels like all those arms are like designed to be VIP, like, as arms.
Yeah.
Whereas ours, I feel like our arms, I feel have more of like a work sport design to them, as well as being super functional for like ultra long cars.
Yeah.
Hey, so when you put it that way, do you think Tiedemann would do a podcast with me? Sorry.
I mean, there'd be an English barrier big time.
I'm just joking.
So the funny thing you want to know.
Can I slide this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think you're accustomed to being a hater? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like now there's not that many haters. I feel like before we had haters. I feel like maybe we were also like way more arrogant before. You
think so?
I kind of feel like in the Cressida days.
Oh, the Cressida days?
We were quite arrogant. But also it felt like we had, almost had the right to be, and maybe that was part of the thing. But also, like, it maybe rubbed people the wrong way. And like,
hang on, I don't know if anybody has the right to be arrogant. I haven't even
floated the thing by yet. Which is what I was gonna say was like, do you think you're like used to haters because you like got bullied? Like, I feel like, you know what I mean? Like, people talk shit about me. Like, it doesn't really bother me that much, like, because like that, like that's it. Like, I don't know.
I mean, you're saying you got bullied?
I mean, I think everybody got bullied, like, growing up in like the 90s or the 80s or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, I didn't get bullied, but I definitely got like hated on. I was like the weird.
Well, that's kind of what I mean. Like, that's I guess sort of what I meant. Like,
yeah, you were like the
lockers or anything.
And people were like, "Oh, there's Kevin." Like, I don't know what's up with that guy. He's like got pink fucking pants on, and like, you're like, "Yeah, bro, I got pink pants." So I go, "Fuck you." I was the long-haired, weird kid that dressed really fucked up and like wasn't a skater, but like kind of looked or hung out with maybe skaters, but like, it wasn't a jock. And then you'd get like the jock guys being like, who's that guy and why is he fucking weird? And the skaters are kind of like, you're kind of cool, maybe. I'm not sure.
You don't skate.
But you don't skate. But like, I rode mountain bikes and like all that shit. And then it was just, you're already an outcast growing up. So yeah, exactly. Fuck the haters. They don't understand shit.
Yeah, just keep doing you anyway. You know what I mean? Like,
and really, that's all it was. It's like you're the same way. Like, you just kept rollerblading, kept wearing pink pants, and kept like not giving a shit. And I sort of just same thing. Like, didn't really care. Like,
what about you, Ryan? Because I would feel you have had haters.
Yeah, where your haters? Where's your hater skills come from?
Obviously, in your media empire, someone has tried to take you down a peg.
Yeah. Never. No, I think so. My experience has never been that of necessarily being the outsider, which I think is sometimes becomes very obvious whenever we like talk about like how like regular ass my life is outside from like cars. It's like, Ryan works at a tech company and blah, 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 blah. I don't know. Anyway, I'm a pretty regular guy. I think I told Kevin on our road trip, I was like, I don't know, like I've always been me. So like, I've always been like mildly clever, more clever. So it was really hard to like, really, and then also I love to argue. So I would always engage in the conversation with people. And that's changed since I got older. But I've talked about this before. When Dodo Logic started in Regina, Saskatchewan, it made waves in the car community. And that was because that was somebody, we were essentially drawing a line in the sand is how people felt like, and what gives you the right to be what people thought was a car club. And like, you're dividing the like car community And it's like, no, we're actually starting a car blog. And they're like, no, I don't understand what that means. You just think you're an elitist and like all the nice cars are here and you didn't include me. And that becomes kind of like the exclusion, the feeling of exclusion, which was never the point. So
if anything, to me, I mean, it feels like you're shining a light on something that no one could see in the darkness, perhaps.
that was always like the reverse was like, actually, there's some like cool stuff going on here and nobody's ever going to talk about it unless we talk about it. Like, nobody's coming to Saskatchewan to shoot your car. So we'll do it. And then eventually, like, it kind of started to make sense. I've never had to like fully diffuse a thing. I think that there's probably been like mild competition between other like media sites, none that still exist. My thing has always just been like, try your best to be consistent and stay around. And then usually you end up outlasting the people around you. And then
you never showed up at like a car show and your camera boys had to fight their camera boys. And they're all, you know.
I've gone to Winnipeg and had people like, you could tell because I was in like some other like media conglomerate's backyard that they weren't happy to have me there. And maybe one or two of the dudes were excited because they like came to our car meets. Then there was a bit of that, but that wasn't like a hater. That was just competition.
No. Yeah.
I think of it this way. I think this is more of a work thing. So for the people that don't know, there's a website called Glassdoor and you can go on and review places that you've worked for. And we were having a conversation about what feedback do you reply to? So out of 5 stars, what do you reply to? And I am a strong believer now, I think, in like, fuck a 1-star review. Like, what do you like? You don't respond to a 1-star review because that person's got a chip on their shoulder. There's nothing constructive in there. You know, like we don't, it's kind of like I don't negotiate with terrorists kind of mentality on that one. Yeah. But also the same token, it's like, I don't really need to interact or do much with a 5-star review because now you've said I'm 100%. And like, that's probably also super biased. I think sometimes if the criticism is between the 2, maybe the 3 and the 4, there's room to grow. So I try to often look at the criticisms. I think even when I started doing stuff with both Kevin and Gerard are very good at offering feedback. And it's not hate. It's just comes from like...
That's a very nice way of saying that we're very brutal.
Picky. Finicky. Critical.
Fastidious.
But it comes from... But that's what you would expect. Like, it wasn't surprising to me to do work with you guys and then have it be like, oh man, that's so weird. It's like, well, no, like build car parts to a very high level. Why wouldn't everything else in your like company be to a high level or the best that you could do? So it's never a 1-star review, but it's like, there's always going to be like probably a grain of salt that you can take from the 2 or the 3 or the 4-star review and then try to make things better. So that's kind of my thought on the haters. So if you're like actually looking at it, if there's like, I've had people comment on the way that a photo was edited and been like, oh shit, no, you're right. Like that does look kind of goofy. Yeah. Like way back in the day, like something was like touched up weird, long roundabout way of talking about what you do with haters. I mean, it depends on the hater because there might be some good feedback in there. Like obviously you guys said, hey, like, yeah, there was feedback. Some things took a long time to get. And if you could control it, you made it better. So there's that part. But like the dude that's just shouting, fuck you for no reason and banning you from groups is kind of useless. Like there's nothing to be had there. That guy wants to see you fail, which is
which is pretty common in certain circles for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, fuck, it's the car community. So like people will get bent out of shape over anything in the car community. It's like, because it's so like competition driven and attention driven. Like we're all building shit to kind of be like, hey, look at me a little bit. And if somebody else isn't looking at you as much as they're looking at someone else, like, yeah, it might jade you a bit or it might jade them a bit. Like it, but maybe there's someone out there that does hate you. You just don't see it on the right channels. Or maybe you've gotten to the point where they just like know it's not advantageous to say that they hate you out loud anymore. Because there is a point. There's things that I know all three of us don't like, but we can't say out loud on a podcast, so we just don't put it in.
Okay, so yeah, I think that's true. And yeah, there's probably people that hate and don't say anything. But at the same time, like for us, we just stay in our lane and kind of do our things. And like people, I would assume they either are going to like us or not. And if they don't like us for certain reasons that they think exist, maybe end up liking us because what they thought wasn't actually true. Or like maybe they we redeemed ourselves, quote unquote, like because like, and like, oh, like these guys moving away from Toyotas, whatever, like blah, blah. And then like, maybe we didn't move away from Toyotas, or like, you know, like making all these other arms are so expensive, blah, blah. And it's like, well, now our arms are expensive, but they're also like billet aluminum, which like literally nobody had, or, you know, stuff like that. It could be anything, you know?
Right.
But I mean, if they want me to put small wheels on my next drift car, I'm just going to have to say, sorry guys, like, it's just not going to happen. It's just not.
That's the future. That's the future. I've had a lot.
You can hate my 18 by 12s all you want, but sorry.
I've had a lot of conversations about that recently.
Yeah, of course.
Where of course I have. I talked to you about it, and then people reached out to me on Instagram, and then I talked to them about it.
How do you deal with the haters of the 15-inch wheels?
No, not that. I've talked about
kidding.
how I think that
us.
there's going to be a shift
That's what I mean,
in car culture. Is what I think. That I think we are not the haters, but like we're not the adopters of that.
We're going to be the old men with our big wheels.
Yeah, we're going to be the old men with
18-inch
big
wheels
wheels.
are going to be garbage, and no one wants them. They're going to be super cheap. I'm about it.
You mean kind of like how it was back in like 2002 and 4 when it was totally like that, because people didn't know that 18-inch wheels would look cool on an S chassis or a JZX100.
No, see, what I think is that we will stay the same. We will remain unchanged. And I think younger generations will come up and do something different with the car scene. And we will be the old man that be like, why you be like that? And when you could do it this way, that's what I actually think. I think that our scene of what we're doing is going to become like a time capsule. And then the next thing that comes will be something that like we may respect it or like it, but we won't fully get it because it's not the thing that we love. That's what I think we're gonna see happen.
Yeah, eventually we're gonna be like the old Boyd Coddingtons for sure. We're gonna be like, oh man,
think
like,
so, man.
Yes.
No, because okay.
The fact
young
Gerard cannot know
because the young kids don't know what's cool.
Yeah, Gerard is going to struggle with the fact that one day he might be a little bit irrelevant to like younger people.
Well,
Boyd Coddington is one guy, first of all, right? Boyd Coddington is one guy. And
I think it was an analogy, but go on.
I know, but I'm saying using Boyd Coddington style, right? You're using his style. There are many people from that era that build cool cars. Boyd Coddington being one of them. And honestly, the cars that he builds weren't really that cool even back then. But they're barely relevant back then to certain people. But now they're maybe super irrelevant. But like, I mean, I'm not worried because I definitely am the guy who always evolves. And I'm always looking towards the future. And I mean, it may not be
except you just said you won't get small wheels, and like that might be.
Yeah, but I'm just saying the future isn't fucking small wheels.
How do you know, bud?
You don't know.
It could be the future for some people. That's great. You can fucking get small wheels all you want. But like, I don't know. Like small wheels doesn't mean 15s or 14s. It could be 17s. I have no problems with 17s, even 16s. Like, you know what I mean?
But it might be 15s, and you might have to learn to deal with it. Or I
don't give a shit. You can run 15s all day long. I'll put 16s or 17s on. I'm still going to do something that's Gerard-esque within that realm. I don't have a problem
fully evolving.
But then you'll have to deal with the haters.
Yeah,
fucking hate me all you want. My car will be sicker than yours anyways, and I guarantee that. So sorry.
Man, I love like sometimes talking to Gerard. It's like the scene in a TV show when they're trying to get a criminal to confess, and you just push certain buttons to tell you like, tell me how you really feel. Yeah, the blow up. Like, you want the truth?
I didn't say.
Yeah, I ordered the code red.
I didn't send you the 16-inch equips that I was like, yo, I would fully buy those. I would trade my motorcycle for.
Yeah,
maybe I did. Okay,
yeah, you
I
did.
did.
You sent them to both of us.
Both of us separately, and talk to us for like till 2 o'clock in the morning.
So I don't have a problem
messages.
with small wheels. I just don't like, I don't need to have the exact small wheels that everyone else has. I would do the trend, but the Gerard way.
But then it's not the trend. Because your trend.
No, because I make my own fucking trends. Like, I don't know.
Kind of. Maybe you're avant-garde, but you'll be a box still, you're going to be in a box one day.
Then I'll be the SerialNine box. And that's
fine. I'm not, here's what you don't get what I'm saying, is I don't think our scene is going away. I think there will become a divide. Like there's only so many 20-year-olds and teenagers that can adore cars from the 2000s and the 90s. Like if you were born in fucking, I don't know, like 2000 and
I guess, okay, here's
you're not going to be like, fuck, I love a car from 1996. Like maybe, but I don't know.
Here's my thought process. It's like, I have so many more tricks up my sleeve and so many more ideas. And then like, if the best you can do is put small wheels on a car and think that it's a trend, then sorry, you're just like not really that relevant to start with. That's how I think about it.
I'm not saying that it's just small wheels. I'm saying there'll be more to it.
It's just an example. It's just saying some huge thing is going to come along that you're not down with. You know what I mean? Like you're down with stands, you're down with drift cars, you're down with low.
Name the hugest thing that's come along in the last 10 years. What's the hugest thing that's come along? That's why I'm
saying we're due for a shakeup.
Huh?
Fitment. Having your car fit well is, I'd say, the biggest thing.
Before that, what was the biggest trend?
I don't know.
I feel like maybe that was, it felt like
exactly, man.
Performance Honda.
Like what's gonna come, and it's gonna be so revolutionary that it's like gonna change the car game as we know. Like nothing is gonna happen.
I'm not. No.
EV.
Sure.
Yeah.
But why don't we, Gerard? If that was the case, then why don't we all drive
EV?
Gerard, if that was the case, why don't you, me, and Kevin all drive Mustangs from this, or like muscle cars from the 70s?
It's just a different style.
Because the game changes. Things change.
I would 100% drive a Mustang.
But it wasn't the
100% drive a Mustang.
It wasn't really the thing we were
into. But you're not going to because you're into
the next kids aren't going to be into what we're into because we're into it. They want to have their own thing. And we're not going to be into it so much because we think our thing's doper. And that's exactly what you're saying. You're like, it's doper.
Maybe
because it's me and I'm doper.
No, but I'm not saying
it doesn't really allow room for you to evolve to the next phase because you're already in love.
I disagree with y'all because out of anybody here,
like that,
I was just gonna say, out of the three of us here, I am definitely the one who has the widest variety of style and the most encompassing views of multiple different styles. You know what I'm saying?
That is lovely. And I think that is great. And you're not wrong. You went from Hondas to like Cressidas. You're always a little bit ahead of a trend. But look, I don't have a fucking crystal ball to tell you that this is going to happen or not. But there's a possibility.
It feels like we're just talking to a hater right now where you're saying like, just like open yourself up to the possibility that this could happen.
Okay,
no, there's absolutely no fucking way.
Okay, so lifted cars, like you see them all the time now. Lifted fucking CRVs, lifted Foresters, lifted all this, right? That's a trend. Is that a trend? That's a trend, right?
I don't know. I'm
not the most prolific trend, but yeah,
it's a trend.
It's a trend, yes.
You think small wheeled Kaido racers are a bigger trend than lifting cars?
No, safari cars way bigger trend.
Yeah, exactly. So
but I think if you.
So are you down with that trend, bro?
Get your trends right. If you're going to argue about trends,
are you down with that trend though?
I could be. Like I've always thought those safari Porsches were kind of sick.
Porsches,
yeah, they're sweet. But I mean, I'm not so down with like a Forester or what did I see the other day? Okay, so I saw. Dude,
there's like a Tercel in my hood that is like it's kind of crazy.
It was it was a weird, I think it was like a Kia or something, but it was a car and it was lifted and the wheels stuck out, but they weren't off-road wheels. And I was like,
Sounds dumb.
like what? It was just such a confused.
And the rolling box.
And the other thing that was weird was it rode so terribly. Like you could tell it was like super, super stiff or something. I guess maybe they had just like fully bottomed out the shocks like on droop. So it just drove like shit. And I was like, you just have no idea what you're doing. Like, it's just...
All right, hold on. I want to go back to this. So now you're going off to this because but it's, I look at it at the sense like when you go through American car culture, there's different eras and times of things that people subscribe to. Even within muscle cars, you would have, like there's different versions. And then we talked about like the touring, is that what it's called? The touring?
Yeah,
whatever.
Super touring, whatever.
Yeah.
Super touring and like the shit where they put the big wheels on it and slam it and try to modernize it. Then you also have hot rodders, resto mod, you have hot rodder, gassers, and all that shit. There's all these different branches. Maybe I'm just not paying enough attention, but the world that we live in, we've been sitting at the middle of this like trend of what import car culture has looked like for the last 15 to 20 years. Yes, there was a Honda phase, and then it feels like there was a stance phase and a drift car like kind of phase, and then there's this nostalgia phase for the 2000s. But it's hard for me to imagine someone who wasn't alive in the 2000s, like wasn't around in the mid 2000s, to have a nostalgia for like a car culture that didn't fully exist to them. Like, are we going to see more people in like the like new 86s
I think we
and
just
all that shit?
I think we just happened to fall into like the perfect time frame where like those cars were the cars we could look up to at those ages. Because it's like, I don't know, if you're 10 years younger than us or whatever, it's like, what are you looking up to? There's no, like you're looking up.
Okay,
like
so how about this?
Z is or something, like I don't know, like
maybe.
Yeah,
but
that's
G35.
That's a huge scene.
That's you're still probably like getting these other cars, like you're still probably want to have an FD or a Supra or like a 100 or a Crown.
Hold on. So why do people the age of say even like Dominic or teenagers care about or listen to or appreciate Michael Jackson?
Do they? I don't even appreciate Michael Jackson.
I don't either, man. I don't give a fuck about Michael Jackson. But like people are, like Thriller, Beat It. I'm just like, what? Okay, Michael Jackson is just an example. But like,
but they're not going out and dressing like Michael Jackson. They're not putting on the red leather and the
maybe they're slightly inspired a little bit.
Maybe they got the flavor. Maybe they fucking love Japan, but maybe they love it so much that they like kind of.
But I mean, maybe you guys
recreate what happens in Japan.
But maybe you guys are just so entrenched in your scene that you just don't see it. How many, like, you think our scene is the biggest scene? It's fucking not, man. Like, how many people are into like brand new Civics or like slightly older Civics or slightly older Accords or Altimas or G37s or G35s or Q50s? That scene's probably fucking way bigger than ours, man. Maybe you guys just don't see it, or we don't see it.
I'm not disagreeing with you, and that's a very valid point.
Like maybe you are just stuck in the 2000s.
I mean, maybe when you kind of look at what the younger people are into right now, and why don't you talk about
the goddamn scooter scene? We've had like 14 events, like it's way bigger.
That's true.
There's more people, like blah blah blah. Like
I wouldn't talk about
that scene ever. Like, it's like, who the fuck gives a shit about it? It's not a scene.
The Kaido scene?
The scooter scene. It's some dudes hanging out having a good time. Scene,
but I mean,
the scooter scene in my opinion is way bigger than either of those scenes for sure. Because the scooter scene is universal. It's worldwide. Like scooters have been popular for years.
But I think the scooter scene that Kevin partakes in maybe has closer ties to the same. To what
Kaido scene,
what we're seeing here, to the Kaido scene.
The Kaido scene. Have you seen it?
Have you seen it?
Anyway, interesting.
I think that there's more stuff going on than
you know. What about the guys that
Yeah.
are tuning turbo G37s, man? How many guys you know doing that?
You talking about here?
Yeah, here.
'Cause
Anywhere.
I don't know.
Yeah, here probably not many. But
I
like,
don't know.
dude,
You like go to those. You
we're-
go to that Thursday night meet. It's not like a bunch of brand new cars. That's for sure.
yeah, but that's one car scene in some butt fuck nowhere like Vancouver, BC. Like,
I mean, I wouldn't say Vancouver, BC's butt fuck
no,
nowhere.
I'm just
Gerard.
saying like that. How the amount of pull or the amount like I don't know. It's not that big, man. Like you go to a drift event and like I mean, you guys literally just came from a drift event in Washington. Could you imagine going to a drift event in like I don't know, man, Florida? Go to a car show in fucking Florida or like Cal or any of those other weird states or I don't know. You know what I mean?
Weird states.
Well, there's like Idaho, Massachusetts. I don't know, right? Texas. This car scene in Texas is probably fucking huge, and I guarantee you, there's a very, 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 very small.
That's
And
what
also,
I mean.
like one thing I will say is like if didn't we just talk about this like last episode though, where it's like what drifting's hell expensive, man, and you gotta like modify all the parts of your car to do it, and then you gotta travel and blah 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 blah. Like
Yeah.
to go do that whatever that is, it's not expensive, you know.
Yeah,
Sorry.
what we're seeing from the younger things is like things are getting more expensive everywhere. It feels like inflation, property. So to enjoy cars to its fullest, there's dudes out there that are kind of like they're being creative about it, but they're doing it by not spending a ton of money. And then there's these scenes that are kind of maybe more conducive to that like kind of where it's okay to be like, yeah, I just fucking I cut my springs or I just
Cheap
pulled them
thrills,
out.
yeah.
Cutting your springs
Yeah.
is never okay. I don't give a shit what scene you're in. That is not okay. It's okay if you're fucking 12 years old or whatever in 1992. It's never okay to cut your springs.
All right.
Just
I feel like
it's not.
there's one time you said that you would cut your springs before you bought lowering
BCs?
springs. No, lowering springs.
Oh yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like when I was like,
So then it's okay to cut a spring if you're
no.
going to buy a lowering spring.
Listen,
Yeah, when you're
when I-
15 and you
when
want to
I
be a
was
kite
15,
racer, it's
it was
okay
just
to do it.
literally like 100 years ago, and there wasn't like a better option available.
Right.
Also, lowering springs are like pretty equally unacceptable as cutting your springs. So
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like shit's evolved. You can buy like crappy coilovers, medium coilovers, and good coilovers. And the crappy coilovers cost as much as springs. So like
So
just to have the height adjustment, I would just buy the shittiest coilovers, which I would probably never buy, but I'm just saying instead of cutting or using a shortened spring or whatever, you know what I mean? Anyways.
okay. I'm going to say that you've made a lot of really great points about a lot of things. But I am curious. So do you fully believe that our scene will just kind of, the scene that we're in will just kind of stay the same forever? And will it continue to grow? Like, will
Okay,
new
but
people
I
come
don't
into
agree
our
that the
scene?
scene that we're in has stayed the same at all. It's evolved.
Sure. But I feel like has it like slowed down or stopped a bit? Because like people are still drifting S chassis, people still prefer to drive.
I don't think so, man. I think it's like look at the popularity of Final Bout. It's clearly growing. Like how many people are building Final Bout cars right now? It's clearly growing.
Right. But is there a
It
ceiling
also
on
feels
that?
like all those pro dudes want to have like a Final Bout style car too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that seems like it's almost a finite resource now. Like how many of cars from those eras can newcomers get into if they don't have, like a young person wants.
Well, I mean, I agree with that. I think the barrier of entry to like our scene, if you will, is quite high.
Yeah. So I'm wondering what happens to our scene as the barrier of entry continues to rise. And then there becomes like other like fun options.
You get fucking priced out, man. Like,
but I mean, like
so
that, then the scene
going.
evolves. You know what I mean? This
it evolves,
right.
Yeah.
This is
like
how
then you
it
get
was.
G35s.
Exactly. It was like all the dudes back in the day. They couldn't have the whatever 70s Mustang.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden they got the Fox body and like made it theirs or whatever. And like
now as the economy
it's the same thing. It was like
And let me just say this. And that's just it. It's like in somebody's eyes, the 69 Mustang is the best. In someone else's eyes, the Fox body is the best. And in someone else's eyes,
blind.
Listen to me. And the newest Mustang is the best. right?
Have a newer Mustang.
And just like us, like in somebody's eyes, the X7 is the best. In somebody else's eyes, the X9 is the best. In somebody else's eyes, the 110 is the best, and so on and so forth, right? And I think that's just how it goes, man. Like, and for me, I love X7s, X8s, X9s. You know what I mean? I have a 110. My 110 is nothing like my X8 or my X10 or even my X7. And I love everything about my 110. But then, now having a 100, I'm like, oh, it brings me back to the X8. It's kind of cool. And like,
but it also feels like, maybe you're like, yo, I'm going to build this 240. And you're like, oh man, 240s are expensive. So I'm like, then you're like, I'm going to build an E36. And like, so you just do something different. And then like,
or a 350Z.
Then like 2 years later, your E36 gets wrecked. And you're like, oh man, like all the 350Zs now are like $1 million. I'm going to build a Volvo or something. You know what I mean? There's always something you can do. And like, there's, like, if you have enough drive to do what you want to do, you're going to figure out a way to do it, sort of thing.
And that's just it too, is like, I love X7s, and I've had so many X7s, and like, had the chance to build another X7. And it's like, have I built another X7? No. Will I ever build an X7? I don't know. Maybe, man. The cost.
When the Kaido scene blows up and you got to stay relevant, you're about to.
I mean, I'm certainly not building a Kaido X7, but like, maybe, you know what I mean? But like, like maybe in the future I will. But like, my criteria for that build is still quite a bit different than what you're saying is like the future, right?
I'm not saying it's the future. I'm just saying I feel like we're due for a big shift. And like, if you historically look at car culture, there becomes like segments in things. There's Honda segments, there's drift segments, there's 2000 things. Like the thing that we kind of, maybe if we all said the things we hated, they wouldn't be a problem. But the things that we like are keep going up. Do you think
it was really just a big, like they're just big shifts every like, 5 to 10 years or something? Or is it just a constant evolution? Because I think it's just a constant evolution.
Yeah, it's a constant pulling in all different directions. Yeah. Sometimes the pull from one direction is bigger. Like sometimes it rips people apart, Can you define the year-ish of like the blow up of like the 2000s drift car style? Because I can't. Like, it's kind of like there were a few dudes
I would
doing
say
it,
it was
and then
about
there were like more dudes
I'd say it's about 8 years ago.
So 10 years after it happened?
Yeah.
But like, what about now? What's happening now? I swear that the boom is bigger now than it was 8 years ago.
Yeah, I'd say the boom is bigger in the last 3 years than it was 8 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I don't really think there was like a defined, like maybe that's when you started seeing the cars, but like now it's like ramped up to the point where like literally every car looks like that.
But it also feels like there had to be a bit of a time where that was cliche. Like after it was cool that they did it, that people wanted to copy it for the first couple of years. Maybe they copied it, and then there must have been a time where that wasn't cool anymore.
I don't know. I kind of disagree. I kind of think there was like a few dudes that sort of did it, like, and like kind of did it pretty well or did their own style on it. And I feel like and then a bunch of other dudes came in and kind of didn't really know what it was about, or like couldn't copy it the right way. Because like we were definitely at Final Bout West and there were some pretty whack looking cars there. And I get it. They're doing their own style and everything or whatever. But like,
actually, no, sorry.
That ain't it.
I misspoke. I don't think it was 8 years ago. I think that was the tipping point to move people back in that direction. Okay. But I don't think it was 8 years ago. Maybe because Final Bout 1 was different than all the other Final Bouts. And then it began to like kind of shift and funnel and point in one direction.
Yeah. So I kind of
maybe by in the last 5 years, that's really
I kind of agree with that. And so my whole thing is I think those dudes that like came into the scene and were like, I want my car to look like this, and like tried it and they're like, I don't really know, like this doesn't look good. And then everyone was kind of like, yeah, your car's kind of cool. And now they've sort of quote unquote figured it out, the formula, like we talked about in the other episode. And now like more people can just have their cars look quote unquote cool, or like to the like level that the first guys that they saw cars looked like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so the average just came up, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like in order to stand out from like the now pretty high average, your car has to be like even crazier. And in being crazier, it might have to look less like the average, which is what everyone used to strive to your car to look like. That's kind of why, like in Japan VIP style, it seems as though people kind of go up and like all the cars look super sick, and then everybody's car is sick, and then these guys just like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna go crazier, and then their cars like break off and go like in this really crazy direction, and they start looking like total shit, and then they have to like maybe loop back to the bottom and start basic again, and you know what I mean? It's just they have to just keep evolving.
Yeah.
Well, shit. Hey, here's the thing. Guess we won't fully know because we don't have a crystal ball. So we'll just have to wait and see what happened. Maybe I'm right. And maybe you will be the Boyd Coddington of our era, Gerard.
If I am, I mean, Boyd Coddington's an icon, man. I'll be an icon, sure.
Yeah, or you can, I don't know who else to say. Maybe you'll be the Chip Foose.
Sure. I'll be any of those guys.
I'll be any of those guys. The one thing that we didn't talk about that I thought would be mildly interesting to talk about. So one of our listeners was in a video. Should I say who did the video or not did the video?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Our friend was in a video, and so I get both sides of this, but I'll say the situation. Was in a video. The channel has a fairly big following, which is really great. Our friend saw it as an opportunity to promote the people that helped him build the car and influenced him,
and see his car in a video. That's probably
and see his car in the video. Yeah, for sure. But like wanted it to be a positive experience for everyone. And unfortunately, the way that it was edited, none of that came through in the video. So I get editing, obviously. I edit things a lot, so I understand the importance of it. But my big problem, I watched the video and was very confused, was some of the parts on the car were misattributed to a different company. So they were actually SerialNine parts, and they were attributed to a different company. I mostly was confused, and it was a bit of a head scratcher for me, kind of like maybe bothered me a bit more than it should have. Not that our pal that was in the video, that's fine. I didn't like the liberties that were taken to say that they weren't SerialNine parts. My question is that unethical? Is that like a thing? Like, I don't know. Is that a thing that people are worried about? Am I overreacting to a situation?
It definitely feels like backhanded a bit, but like you can't control what other people do. I wouldn't be doing it,
I don't know how it works with that channel, with that video. Like you maybe sign a thing that says, hey, my car is going to be in this video, you relinquish your rights to something. I don't know how it works. Because maybe they just edit the video and you're left with whatever the fuck they give you. You know what I mean?
I don't think you sign anything. I don't think like there's any repercussions. I think you hand over your keys. Somebody makes a video about your car, and then whatever the hell they want to say, they say. So like, yeah, you could make a video where you like shit on somebody's car, but then you're probably not going to get other people to be in your video. And we've talked about this in the past, because like when we started this podcast, there was another story that came out about said channel, and I
really?
get it. Yeah. But it was more so about, they completely cut the owner out of the video and made it seem like the car belonged to someone that it didn't belong to.
Oh yeah. I remember that now.
Ah, man, it is kind of like, I guess,
Shiesty.
giving someone a bit shiesty. Like you give someone the benefit of the doubt, but then I don't know, like I would feel like I was betraying someone if I went in to make a video and they told me a bunch of things and then I just reframed it to not kind of say the things that they were saying. Look, I edit videos of Kevin and Gerard all the time. Not all the time, relatively a decent amount. And yeah, I cut things out, but I don't think that it's like still the essence of what it's meant to be. Like, I think who you see in the videos or who you hear in the podcast is still us and our thoughts. It's just maybe a little bit more polished, but like that didn't feel like a polish. Yeah, I guess it's just like a weird lesson that you don't think you have to really think about in the car community. It's like, oh, when you do these things with people, you could be misrepresented, which is almost unfortunate as well. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm a big believer in like giving credit where credit is due, and especially like if people in your video are trying to give like credit where credit is due. Like I've shot features on cars and people have been like, hey, it's really important that you shoot this piece and give credit to this person and say this thing. And it's like, yeah, I will absolutely do that because like this is a two-way street and you're letting me shoot your car and they've helped you build your car. Like those are important things. And I think to take that away from someone is immoral, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, that was my thought on it.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I would just kind of be like, if that was me in the video and then they released the video and it wasn't really what I had said, or they had made me look or seem different than what I wanted to look or seem like in the video, I would definitely be kind of like, yo, like this, that sucks.
Yeah, and you can say that sucks, but that is also that person's business, and they
see. Like that, if I was about to say one thing would be like if that happened to you, you could just choose to not upload that video. But it's like they're uploading that video to their channel, no matter what you say.
But that's what I mean. You would have had to sign something.
No way, man.
No.
Have you ever signed anything to make any video?
Yeah. Did Johnny make you sign a thing for your box one video?
Did we ever sign anything when we made those videos with Dustin way back in the day?
No, but I mean, if we would have said take them down, you probably would have. Yeah.
The thing is that the business is like the bit like I get the other side of it. Like, hey, I don't like the cut, but that dude has a ton of subscribers. Like, hey, I don't like the cut. It's like, yeah, but I've made like 80 videos, and everybody's not going to like every video. Like, fuck the haters. Like, I got to do what I got to do. Like, I'm right in this. I'm the successful one. I built a channel. What does this guy know about building like a following? I know what I'm doing. I'm going to do what I do. Like, yeah, maybe you don't like the video, but like at this point, it doesn't matter. It's in the can. Like you could write to that guy and that guy could be like, I don't need to respond to you. Like in my initial thought,
like it's not like you have 10 cars probably. And he wants 9 more videos with you. He's done with you.
Doesn't need him.
We should just write all the comments on the video. We should just.
That's what I said.
Yeah, we should just do that.
There are comments on the video. Like people are being really cool about it. They're like, "Hey, like this car is really dope, but mild correction. That's actually like this SerialNine. Those are the SerialNine parts. Like all. Oh,
somebody said that already.
Yeah, like Jake said
Jake did.
Someone else said it that I don't know who it is. Like was like the one that like Jake just put the actual part name. The other people wrote and said like, yo, this is a really sick car, but those are SerialNine parts.
Oh, okay.
So like they know, but it's like, it's, I don't know. And I get it. Maybe it sounds petty and people can be like, oh, you're just being like petty or being like hurt about it. Cause it like this didn't happen to me. I'm just a guy that makes videos. So I feel like I have an opinion on it. And then 2, I guess I'd say like, I don't really like when people like screw my friends over a bit is what I think. And especially like it's your guys' livelihood. Any opportunity to get the word out there about what you do and how well you do it, I think is great. And then to have somebody come along and be like, oh yeah, fuck this shit, I'm just going to like attribute it to another company is really shitty to me. Cause like you are putting in the work, you're doing the thing. You had a ton of customer service with that builds. Like,
yeah,
you helped our pal out, and that's great. And then none of that is in there, if none of that was in there, fine. But the things that were put in there made it seem like it was pumping another brand's tires. And if that brand did those things to earn that stuff, then by all means they deserve it. But I think to me, when you do stuff, you should give credit where credit is due. Anyway, that's how I feel about that. Makes me a little bit upset. I said my piece.
Yeah.
Anyway, do we have anything positive we can end on? Because now I'm all hot and bothered. I'm all
hyped up.
Hot. I'm gonna go punch a pillow.
Well, we can be all hyped up on our media explosion that's gonna happen. Well, we got all these videos canned up, ready to release and edit.
Well, let's wrap it up properly before we go.
Yeah.
So what do we say? Hey, what did we learn today?
What did we learn today?
Well, we learned how to deal with haters.
Yes.
We learned We learned about why the CD009 is a good
Superior
choice
to
for a
the
transmission.
256. Yeah.
Yeah.
More desirable.
Yeah. We didn't learn about why it's more desirable than the R154, but we can do that another day.
I'll tell
Well, not now. I don't want to do it now. You can
No,
tell
I
me
know.
another time.
I just-
Feel like it's a long conversation. And we're out of time.
Yeah, it's all she wrote.
And then we talked a bit about media, which is my favorite thing to talk about. So good. So thanks for everyone who wrote in. Thanks for everyone who's commented and said like they like really like the podcast.
Yes, thank you so much.
Hatchet Man 81 FMS. It comes across as Kyle. He just drove out to the island and he was just talking about how he was crushing listening to all of the podcasts. And I really appreciated that. So thanks for that.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for being there. Yeah. And thanks for everyone else who like comments, shares. I love it when people share our stuff because it's nice to know that people like actually appreciate it. So if you listen, feel free to share it. Kind of sounds like the smash the like button and subscribe, but you don't have to do that. Just be a part of our world. Anyway, talk to you later.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
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 Thanks for listening to Serial Podcast 9.